Hi, everybody. My name is Susan Thomas. I'm one of the instruction librarians at PACE in New York City, the Beekman Library. I'm making a short video that complements the slideshow that you find in classes or Brightspace. So in preparation for meeting with me, I'd like you to watch this video and spend time looking at the slides. And then we will meet later this summer and run the searches. But before we do that, I need you to do some work as teams, and that means building a search term table. And that's what I'm going to talk about right now. So this is the slideshow, and I'm just going to go through a little bit here. I need you each to read these slides in detail. I'm just going to sort of highlight some of it right now. This is basically just about the value of the search term table. It's just a place where we can all work together. I recommend creating a Google document for the search term table. And that means that you can also include your PICO question, your screening guidelines, like a link to the screening guidelines. And if you give us, everybody on the team, as well as me, access to the Google Doc, we can all communicate there. That's the ideal, in my opinion. So you'll be sharing your document with me, and it will include a search term table, as well as your PICO question and your screening guidelines. And if you have questions or comments, you could just type them into that document. Just think of it as like a working document that we can all share leading up to our official meeting to actually run the search. So you're going to be starting with your PICO question. You're very familiar with PICO question by now. And what you're going to do is in your table, you insert a table into the Google document, and you'll include columns and rows, and you'll have a column for each element of the PICO question. Sometimes the PICO question will have more than one intervention, for example, as in this example about type 2 diabetes. We have 2 interventions, comparator, an outcome, and a time period. So we're starting out by listing everything that's found in the PICO question. But sometimes we drop columns from the actual search. So in this case, the comparator is the standard of care anti-hyperglycemic medications alone. We don't need to search for that. We're searching for anti-hyperglycemic medications as one of the 2 interventions. And what's happening here with the interventions is we need both interventions to be happening, lifestyle modifications as well as anti-hyperglycemic medications. So we don't need C, and we don't want T, because it's almost impossible to limit an article search to something like within 6 months. You're going to have to just look at your titles and abstracts and see what kind of time period that research was dealing with. May be very hard to find an exact match, so you'll just have to find something that's close as you can, as close as you can find, to your time period. So this is what my PICO looks like once I drop those columns, and these are the columns that I'm going to use to build my search. PICO is a tool. It's a flexible tool. It's not a hard and fast rule. So each team's PICO and search term table will look different, most likely. So I've got my patient, or the problem that we're dealing with, and then we've got the 2 interventions and the outcome. So I start by recording keywords that just are sort of naturally occurring to you based on your PICO question. This is something we'll do as a team. And this is the first step, just recording some keywords. Don't worry about whether you've identified every possible keyword or not. Just get the most basic ones down there. The next step is to go into Mesh database, which is part of PubMed, and into this CINAHL headings, which is part of CINAHL, to look for what's called the controlled vocabulary. This is the official language of the databases, and you can read a little bit more about it here. We'll talk about it more when we meet. I mean, an easy comparison of controlled vocabulary is hashtags in Instagram, for example. You know, this is a way to search for something, and the idea is that you'll find all the best and relevant results if you use this particular vocabulary. However, keywords are extremely helpful in this day and age. So what we do is we search for both the controlled vocabulary terms and the keywords, because each way of searching has pros and cons. This is what it's going to look like when I click on PubMed in a moment. We're going to be clicking on the mesh database in the bottom right. And this is what the new CINAHL looks like. CINAHL has been redesigned by the company that we subscribe to. The company's called EBSCO. So all the EBSCO databases look different now. I don't love it. They all have this dashboard on the left. They really want you to log in when you're searching one of the EBSCO databases. And they use up all this kind of real estate on the page. This CINAHL Headings link used to be at the top, and now it's down here. So just jumping ahead to the end, you know, let's pretend like I've already searched the mesh database and the CINAHL headings, and I've recorded everything here in my search term table. So you can see that I have keywords like type 2 diabetes, and by keyword, I may also mean phrase, keyword phrase. And then I have identified the controlled vocabulary. In this case, diabetes mellitus, type 2 is the same in both databases. Other controlled vocabulary is unique to a database. Diet, reducing is the same in both databases, but diet, healthy is only found in mesh. Diabetic diet is the official language in CINAHL, whereas diet, diabetic is the official language in mesh. So we're recording everything here. And if it's a keyword, I do recommend putting KW in parentheses, just so everything is clearly expressed, because it can get a bit confusing when you're actually building the search. This is a little bit about why we search by keyword and controlled vocabulary. I don't want to just read the slides, so you can read that on your own. And when we meet, you can ask me questions if you'd like. Same here. Just read this. The bottom line is I need you to meet before you meet with me. You need to meet as your team and start filling in a search term table in a shared document. Again, I recommend using Google Docs. I believe you can start out using Word, and then you could actually upload that into Google Docs. Pretty sure that's right. But however you choose to do it, just make sure that it's something that you can share with me so that I can go in there and type in comments or questions, and everybody on the team needs to be able to do that. So it needs to be one of those documents that's live, and everybody has editing privileges. And somebody from the team needs to be the leader who's responsible for being in contact with me. And then that person will be in contact with, the team in general. Okay, so let me get out of here for a second and go to the library. Actually, let me go back one page. This is the library's website. So this is what you'll do as a team. You're going to go to the library's website. You're going to have your PICO question. And ideally, you will have recorded some keywords in a shared document in a search term table. And then you're going to go to, I recommend going to PubMed first. Click on databases, click on the letter P. Excuse me, I had an allergy attack today. And then scroll to the bottom and go to PubMed. You might need that duo authentication. I've already been logged in today, and I'm already logged in as well to the database. Be sure to enter PubMed through the Pace University libraries. That way, any kind of full text material will be linked, and it's just the best way to search PubMed, since you are a Pace student and you have access to PubMed with these add-on features like full text. Now, I'm not searching here. This is an article search box. This is where we typically search in PubMed, but we're going down here to the bottom right to the mesh database. And just as an example, try to keep this quick. I'm going to type in one of the keywords from my search term table. I'm going to type in healthy diet. And click search. So the match for that is diet, healthy. And you can see here the description of it. Don't check any of these boxes. We're not doing anything with this page right now. We're just identifying the actual terms. Okay, so diet, healthy is the term. But what I'd like to point out is that these entry terms are all mapped to diet, healthy. So for example, if I had typed in healthy nutrition as a keyword instead of healthy diet, it's going to take me to the same diet, healthy page. So all of these, if they're typed into this box, are going to land on this page, diet, healthy. So what I would do is take this, copy it, and go back to my search term table, paste this into that column under the lifestyle modifications, and in parentheses put mesh to indicate that this is a mesh term. I could, and I'll do this for all the keywords that I've recorded in the table. Another example would be type 2 diabetes. Sometimes there will be more than one result to choose from. In this case, it's pretty obvious that this is the mesh term that we want, not this one. This is far too specific and it's supplementary as well. So if I want to, and it is a good idea to click on it just to get a little bit more info. You get the whole description here of the mesh term when it was introduced. And down here, again, these other entry terms will all lead to diabetes mellitus, type 2, if they were searched for. So for example, I could take this whole long thing here, paste it in here, click search, and land on this same page. What's useful about the entry terms is sometimes if you browse them, you will identify a keyword or keyword phrase that you had thought of, and you might want to add it to your search term table. You might decide that's actually a useful keyword to search for. Now, we're already going to have type 2 diabetes in our search term table, and we probably don't need any of these others. It really depends on your PICO, what you're searching for, but it is good to know about the entry terms. Also, it's good to know about the mesh hierarchies or the mesh tree, it might be called. Diabetes mellitus, type 2 falls in 2 trees. One is about nutritional and metabolic diseases, and then the other is endocrine system diseases. And those are both under diseases category. And then there's something even more specific underneath, which we will automatically find in our results. When you search for a mesh term, you get the term itself and any terms that fall below it. There's a way to exclude this if I decide I need to exclude it, and that's something we'll talk about when we meet as teams. So that's how to search the mesh database in PubMed. And then if we go back to the database list, click on C and click on CINAHL. Same concept, different database. I don't like how faint looking all the words are here. I think they're kind of hard to look at and find, but this is where you want to click CINAHL headings. And again, you're not up here in the article search, you're down here in the CINAHL headings. So again, if I do the diet as an example, leave this on relevancy ranked. If I do term begins with, watch what happens. No results. If I do relevancy ranked, I don't get an exact match for healthy diet, but I do get terms here that are useful. But I do need to spend some time, and your team will need to spend some time reviewing the results here. Diet is too general. It just means the regular intake of food and beverages consumed by an organism. So that's not what we're looking for. What sounds like it might be useful when we're talking about diabetes? Restricted diet, perhaps? I believe this is too specific. It says, do not use for reducing diet. Yeah, this isn't really about weight loss. So you keep going. There's diabetic diet. That's pretty much an exact match for what we're looking for. So, where did it go? Dietary regimen that is designed specifically for diabetic patients. So I would take diabetic diet and, sorry, it's not letting me copy it. In any case, I would go back to my search term table and I would record diabetic diet parentheses CINAHL in that column. So I want to exhaust this page and see if there's anything else that might be relevant. I think reducing diet would be something to add to the table. And probably that's about it. If there's more than one list of results, you can go ahead and look at the second page. And this is not like hard science right now. There is a level of subjectivity involved, and that's fine. If you include something that isn't a perfect match, that's fine. We can discuss during the team meeting. Like, is fat restricted diet a good choice when we're talking about diabetes? It could be. You know more about this than I do. That's the other thing. You are the authorities and experts on a lot of this stuff. I'm just helping build the searches. So I will definitely be asking you for your opinions about the search terms, okay? So that's a little example of searching for the CINAHL headings. And we looked at the mesh database for the mesh headings. And I think that's really all I want to talk about right now. Let me go back to the slideshow for a second. Yeah. I guess this is the last slide. This one I haven't shown you yet. This basically in dramatic all caps. I'm just emphasizing again the need for each team to meet prior to meeting with me, creating a shared document that includes a search term table, sharing it with me in advance, at least a week in advance of our meeting, because I need time to look at it and make suggestions and ask questions. Because when we meet to run the search, it can take a while. It usually takes at least 90 minutes to get through 2 databases. So we want to get as much work done in advance as possible. So that's my story. I look forward to working with you. And you can send me an email, at any point about anything, but just know that the majority of, the work is going to be done during that team meeting. And I know not everyone will be able to attend the team meeting. You want to really try to get as many people there as possible. But I understand, how these things work. So have a great month or weeks leading up to our meeting. And thank you for all the great work that you do. And I look forward to meeting with you soon. All right, bye.